as a project manager, because you will have people to do the job for you for other areas. But this is where you will be actually focusing on 100%, because it is like, you can think of it like a river, or sorry, or a sea, where all the rivers are coming and joining. So they are all, so whether it is a cost control manager, he's sending his information to you, procurement manager is sending his information to you, quality control manager, he's sending his information to you, marketing manager is sending his information to you, construction manager so you are actually catching all those things in one common pool or one common kitty. And once all those rivers will fall in the big sea, then you will actually make the result for the whole project. So this is integration. This is the process and activities of identifying, definition, combine. Very importantly, you will be combining all the efforts of all the team, unify and coordinate, because if the procurement requires money, you will be talking to CFO to make sure that the money is available. If quality engineer is facing challenge about regarding some resource availability, you might be talking to the HR resource. Maybe your quality manager is facing some challenge in terms of the delivery of the product and he's finding some issues. At that very moment, you will be talking to the site manager that, hello, Faizan, why it is happening? Numan is complaining that you are not doing a quality job. So your job is very important. You are to make sure the whole team stays together. There is no negative politics. There is a collaborative environment, and for this you will be working in this area very diligently to make sure that you do not miss anything. So all your project management activities are here. So this integration covers the daily operation. It is not that what is happening. So it covers the daily operation and processes of the project manager and his management team. So most project manager and management team is the terminology that we use. I mean, either of those is correct. So sometimes on a bigger project, you have project management team, because you have multiple projects. So if the example that we have talked about and an example that we keep on taking with us is the housing society of 200 villas, where every manager will be doing a 50 villas. So it will become now a project management team of maybe 5 people. Okay, 4 project managers and you are a senior project manager or a part of the project management team who is leading it. That all the parts of the project work together. It has 7 processes, and starting from the develop project charter, it talks about initiation. This knowledge area talks about initiation with the development of the project charter and benefit project management plan. Then the next step is defining the project management plan. Then you need to execute it through direct and managed control work. And obviously, whatever you are executing, I mean, you are in execution, your job is to make sure that everything runs smooth, because there are people, construction managers, masons, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, all those will be working for you on the ground. Okay, and your job is to make sure that it remains smooth, and then you will monitoring and controlling in terms of that. Okay, whatever you have planned, is it happening or not? If it is not happening, then you need to do the change control, and finally you close the project. It is important to note that PMI view the integration occurs in all other areas as well. So it's not only on the very high level of the project, but there are so much integration is going to happen in other areas, specifically in the product, in the scope department, in the scope knowledge area. There are 2 types of scope: product scope and project scope. You need to integrate them. Then project work needs to be integrated with the organization ongoing jobs. How the organization is paying the money, it is a 30-day cycle, how the organization is doing the procurement, what is the technical specialties that is available. So if you are in a strong matrix organization and you are a project manager and you need team, you need a security auditor. Okay, yes, you have an IT department, but they don't have any person who has ever worked on the security. So you might need to go outside. So you are integrating your project with organization. And we have talked yesterday, in the last session about the integration, vertical integration, horizontal integration, process integration, cognitive integration, and context integration. So this is your job. Your responsibility is to make sure that everything remains smooth. And obviously there will be a period when you will be looking at the challenges, but this is part and parcel of the job. So first you will assign as a project manager on this project, then you will plan it, then you will make sure that things happen as you have planned. If not, then you will do the required changes. Two documents are very important for the project initiation. Okay, so two documents will come from outside. What are those two documents which will come from outside?
Business plan.
Yes, business case and benefit management plan. So to deliver, so these processes will come out from outside to the project charter, and from there onward, actually you will start working on. So we are 7 processes are part of it. To deliver effectively, you need capabilities like management, leadership, political awareness. You might want to be some strict controls on the timeline delays. You should be flex. So both things are required. As we have discussed, we need people who has a management skills and who has leadership skills also. Because sometimes when you try to lead the people from all the leadership skills type, then you miss the management part of it. So PMI wants that you have something both. So whenever you want to become leader, when you want to inspire people, when you want them to be loyalty, they are willing to do it, but they do not forget the process that they have to deliver. They do not forget the deadlines that they have to follow. So the processes in integration knowledge area make sure that the projects work like a well-oiled machine without any major hiccups and challenges. If we see the project integration knowledge area processes from the project process group perspective, this is the only knowledge area which has the processes in all 5 process groups. There is no other knowledge area from 10 where you have processes in every process group, and you can actually see on a very higher level for the discussion purposes only that it is covering the whole project life cycle. When project is in initiation, you are developing a charter here. When you are planning, it is planning the project management plan. When you are executing, direct and managed project work is there. When you are monitoring and controlling, monitor and control there. When you are closing, close is there. So if you see the integration knowledge area, it is like that you have started a project and you have ended the project. And that is the objective of integration. From A till Z, everything is under control. Every process is under control. Every impact is being properly analyzed. Every change has been properly checked for a look for impacted. All your risks will be properly mitigated. All your quality control issues are properly answered for. All your assumptions are properly questioned. So this is where, so it's, as I told you, this was the integration is an umbrella. Everything is under it. It's from initiation till the closing. So it's the only knowledge area which has the process in each 5. Project integration management is an art and science of ensuring that your project moves forward and that your plan is fully developed and properly implemented. So key concepts, integration management. This is the project manager's domain. This is your den. You are responsible for the deliverable of the project as whole. Cost management, schedule management, risk management, all other knowledge areas can be managed by the project, by the team, by the members who are specialists in your organization. But project integration management is totally led by the project manager. Additional focuses is on the business and not on the technical part management only. Technical project management. Knowledge management plays a vital role when it comes to project management. We do not want to reinvent things ourselves, and even we do not want to make the same mistakes again and again. Therefore, it is of utmost importance for project managers that we prepare a plan for knowledge management. Not only for us that we keep on learning throughout the project, we should have a process in place that the people who are coming next and the project managers who are coming next, they should able to learn from our experiences. Project progress is about monitoring the project performance, which cover the performance of the cost, schedule, and scope. We will look into this. So there are 4 baselines on the project. I mean, at this point, just understand these 4 things: cost baseline, scope baseline, schedule baseline, and performance baseline. So once we are talking about the performance baseline or the project performance, we are talking about these three baselines as together. All decisions will have an effect. Some may only affect the project, but some may have the impact beyond the project lifestyle and as part of the benefits of the initiative. So maybe you are missing the go-to-market timeline. You have a problem. I mean, go-to-market or is very, very important for business. As it's because of the technical project manager, because of the technicalities, if you have missed it, then we have a problem. So integration makes sure that your project remains related to organization. Data, information, and reports deals with the collection of the data, which would be paper-based, or you may have systems like project management, Microsoft Project Management, other PIMS systems. And I have seen there are many project information management tools available. You need to analyze, and most importantly, you need to report them in the required format to the right stakeholders. Closing and transitions are 2 important part of any project. Maybe when you close the project, it is transitions into operations with the phase gate, and another phase gate starts. So if you remember that there is a product life cycle and there is a project life cycle. So one product may have multiple project life cycles. So at that point, we have only done the manufacturing of the project, and we have only done the manufacturing concern, or the mill is ready or the factory is ready. Now it will become operation, and that is another phase gate for the product and not for the project. So alignment of delivery, we have talked that it should remain aligned with the project benefit management plan. Project management plans, scope, cost, quality, communication, stakeholder, these all will be done. Knowledge management plan you have to create for yourself and for the team to come forward. Project progress, you should keep on looking. So these are some of the key concepts in the integration, which will help us to make sure that we do not miss the project as a whole, or we do not have the gaps, uncovered gaps or things which we may not able to complete. So if you open the, sorry, I mean that I must have actually missed it. I shouldn't. So if you please open the book. And go to, where is it? Page number 112. Sorry, technically page number 112, or in the book it is page number. Can you see the book? See my screen? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Every knowledge area is defined into 5 sub areas. The first one is the key concepts that we have just finished. The second one is the trends and emerging practices in the project integration management. I mean, those are done in 2017, late 2017, early 2018 for those things which have not yet taken a complete footstep, but they are now emerging tools. Think people have started using it, but still you cannot say that most of the projects are using these things. So these are covered as part of the trends and emerging practices. Then we have a tailoring consideration. You as a project manager is responsible for the tailoring of the project management processes. You are responsible as that which tools and techniques you will be using. You are responsible for which templates you will be using. Now PMI is suggesting you that if you want to tailor the knowledge areas processes, you should be taking care of these things. So if the project cycle is actually project life cycle is bigger, where you have multiple iterative and multiple phases, then you should be looking at a different approach. If you have a development life cycle which is appropriate for product and iterative, then it's a different thing. Management, knowledge management, I will go through this. So in all knowledge areas, they have suggested you that while you are tailoring, these are some of the very important parameters that you should consider during tailoring of your processes. Then the last is consideration of adaptive and agile. So if integration is part of the agile, obviously in an agile you have to integrate. You are there as a project manager. Your job is not gone, and you will be delivering things. Is only that your job description has changed a little bit, or I would say majorly, but it does not mean that you are not there. So if you are in agile environment, if you are in adaptive environment, what is how the project will behave? And obviously we have talked of all those specific things in these agile and adaptive considerations as part of the agile review for those slides. So all these things so now you understand the agile. I mean, I would not say if understand is complete understand, but we will be reviewing it time to time some sentences here and there. So these are the considerations. So when you are talking about integration, these are the 4 things, and then we will jump into the processes. Every process has inputs which are deliverables, tools and techniques you receive the deliverable, you do some work on it, you process it, and then you send the output to other processes. So most of the outputs here are the inputs to the other areas that we have, other processes. Okay, and this is how it keeps on moving. So there are some DFDs you may use. If you think these DFDs will make sense for you, you can use it, you can create it yourself. That is even correct. But so most importantly, we have discussed before, we cannot memorize all these ITTOs. So just focus on memorizing or understanding the most important inputs and outputs, and how the process is actually working on those inputs and outputs. So coming back, is trends and emerging practices. So automation is one of the trend that was there in 2017 and 18. Microsoft project, base camps, and there are many software that we people are using extensively for the task and project management in many companies. These are online tools which work great with the large team, and if they are even if they are working remotely. So these tools are part of the project management information systems. We all have seen data analytic graphs and dashboards are now talk of the town. They are people wants to use it, even if they know how, even if they don't know how to use it and what kind of information they should be looking at it, but still they like to see the visual management tools because it looks trendy, right or wrong? So next is project management knowledge areas. What are the new this is the new processes that we have. Uh, I mean, this is there as part of the lesson learned when the project used to finish. But now we need to avoid the loss of the knowledge. Don't reinvent the wheel. This is about creation, management, storage, access of the project data. Responsibility of the project manager has been increased. You are supposed to help the management. You are supposed to help the project management office sharing the data with the committees to define objectives, build requirements, work with the stakeholders, create benefits for the organization. You are focused in terms of, I mean, you are now beyond your technical project management. So this is very important in terms of integration. You are focusing and making sure your project remain viable for the organization. Your project remains on the papers that they discuss in the project, in the board meetings on the paper. So this is what you have. And then obviously hybrid technologies, and we have talked about it, that there are processes that there are, I mean, every company is using hybrid processes. Some are predefined, some projects are adaptive in nature, some projects are waterfall in nature. So this is the integration management. Trends and emerging practices. Just give me a second, I need to bring the water. uh, Tailoring condition. Project management is not like writing on a concrete wall. You need to adapt as per the requirement of the projects. You might need to go into the great details of everything, or you just might want to need to tone it down based on the project requirement. So we have discussed that if you are in an IT project, your risk management is largely on a very higher level, but on the other side of it, if you are doing a construction, if you are doing an airline industry, and if you are in a pharma, your risk management processes will be far more in depth than comparing to any other area. So depth and breadth is your decision. You need to identify the flexibility and adaptability throughout the project plan execution. You need, so there is no one size fits all. It's a descriptive method. You cannot, so one yardstick to implement, one yardstick to implement every process will not work. Governance is a governance is, changes everything. So if your governance is very bureaucratic, you have a problem. If your governance is quick, you have a different kind of a challenges. You need to make sure that everything is done, because then you will have a responsibility. Governance includes steering committees, change control board, user groups, what entities required in your organization that sets the rules. Benefit managements, how you are going to make sure that who is going to receive it, when they are going to receive it, what will be the success criteria, what will be the success criteria, what will be the phase delivery. So knowing all these things will help you identify how you can actually tailor the process. If your project cycle is fit based on the industry you are in, development cycle is agile or adaptive. Knowledge management, if it's a first time project, you would be doing a lot of knowledge management, but as we all have seen that we are doing projects again and again and again. So the next time knowledge management is only the gap, only the new learnings that we have. Change is not usual. Change isn't unusual in the project. It is in fact it is in fact something we are always expecting. But how you are going to manage the change is entirely on the project manager and the organization. And if you do the good job, then your change management will be better. Your project will be delivered on time. Lesson learned is knowledge that the project manager and the project team creates throughout the project. So not just at the end. So do not lose it. Make sure you have a proper knowledge management, requirement management, and lesson learned processes, protocols, and templates in place when you are working on the project. So do not lose the the information, and the information that you are capturing is reliable and properly used and can be usable for in the future. So once all these 7 processes you want to tailor, these are the considerations that you need to take consider actually. So for Agile, we have talked about it, that it's an incremental delivery. We are not looking for local domain. I mean, we are not looking for people who cannot do any other job. Yes, I am very good at it, but I should be generalized specialist. Very good at something, but I can cover somebody else in somewhere else, because the team is collaborating, team is together, team has to take the decisions together so that everybody fails together, everybody succeeds together. And this is where self-generalized, organized teams comes in. They do the product planning together, they do the collaborative decision making, they ensuring teams ability to respond on the changes. They are served by the servant leadership person who brings the tea and coffee for your team. So it's a very high collaborative environment. It's an open air environment. It does not believe in documentation. I would not say it does not believe in documentation. It requires a documentation which is merely required. I mean, bare minimum that is required. I mean, you cannot just send anything without the documentation. But visualization, some people are not supposed to visualize on their own based on reading your documentation. So key tools and techniques, key tools and techniques. Why I hate this. Key tools and techniques, if you can see, we are looking at data gathering techniques. We are looking at analysis because monitoring and control is there. We are looking at interpretation, interpersonal and team skills because the execution is there. We will be talking with the people. We will be talking with the stakeholder. There will be a lot of conflicts that would come in. And all, at the last is the expert judgments and decision making. About the decision, somebody told me about, in 2007 and 8, that there are only 2 things will happen if you take the decisions. One is either you are right, or the second is you will learn what not to do when you face the same kind of a situation next time. So either it is learning or it's a correction. So take the decision. I mean, but again, being a project manager, you always need to avoid the knee-jerk reaction. You always need to avoid the reactionary reaction. So you want to go step back. You want to analyze. You want to look for it, that what could go wrong. What are the actual reasons? If somebody has the fever, is it the fever because of the tiredness? Is it a fever because of the stomach ache? Is it a fever because of any other infection within a body? So we are looking at the um, what do you say? I mean, root cause analysis, root cause of all the problems that we have. Now this is the first process. Develop project charter. It establishes a partnership between the performing and requesting organization. Performing and requesting organization means, I mean, there are two things. Whether you are working for external company, then the a contract will be created, but based on the contract, charter will be issued, and that you usually do not go back to contract every time, because contract has so many things which are beyond the project, like force majeure and the litigation processes, payment processes, how it is going to happen. So you take all what is required in terms of project charter, you will see the headings and may make part of the process. So in the case of external project, a formal contract will be done. It could be very simple document, and it is supposed to be a simple document with the most important general information. Important general information, and it is very important that project charter do not changes over the period of time. So that is why it has to be written on 30,000 feet high level, that it covers everything that could happen within a project. What will happen within a project? We will keep on moving to 30 to 20 to 10 to 9 to 800 feet, and we will see what the actual project is going to be. But project charter is on a very higher level, and there is a complete, very long blog on an article written on project charter on my website. It covers all part of the project charter, even if it is comparing to agreement, if it is comparing to contract, what should be part of it, who should sign it, how you should work on it. Everything is covered on it, on this article. So it contains the most important parts of the project, such as what we need to do, when we need to deliver, how are we going to deliver, what is the governance structure that we are looking at, what is the project team that we are looking at, what is the change structure that we need on the project, what are the change control mechanism and processes that we have. So the project will be established in the project charter, that we also called a project startup tool. It is very important. There was a question in the last sessions, is this the project charter, when is the project initiated? Is it initiated with the project charter, or it is initiated before the project charter? It's a question for you. What do you think, that when the project has initiated, is it initiated at the project charter level, or it is initiated before the project charter level? Anybody? Anything? Faz, I cannot hear you.
Project can be initiated maybe at the project charter level or after the project charter level, basically. The project charter is the first document that tells us that a project is born, and now we have to manage it.
I mean, okay, so in this process, project charter is, you only create a project charter for the project that your organization has already committed. The project has initiated before the project charter. You may have thousands of business cases, but very few of those business cases become the reality. So project charter is making that business case a reality. Now we have agreed that this business case we are going to invest. This business case is most important for our organization, and that is why let's write a project charter for it. You are responsible for preparing the document. This is very confusing situation. What happens is, who is going to sign it, who is going to write it, who is going to prepare it? I will leave these questions with you and you will look into the article for this answer. The project charter is the document that signifies the formal acceptance and approval of the project. It has, yes, Mr. Mudassir is allowed to use organizational resources for this project. This is not a legal document, but it is a it's a flag in my hand that, okay, now I am the leader of this project, and please, CFO, who is far above in pay grade in organizational structure from me, from where I am, from the project management, but he has to listen to me. Why? I am having a document or a flag of a sponsor that organization has committed organizational resources for this project. So it has the project objectives, the project charter, why we are doing it, what are we looking to achieve, and how we are going to achieve it. That's the project charter. First, I would like to mention this element would always be developed before starting the planning process. You should have the charter before the planning process. Planning process cannot start without the charter, because charter sets up the scope. Charter says that we have a football game on next Tuesday with team B in this stadium at that time. You need to be there. This is a project charter. We have to have this, then only I can plan it. Today, I am sure you all have received some change of meeting request. Okay, why? I have confirmed some other sessions which I had to take it, and that is why I requested a change. So if I don't know that this is going to happen on May the 21st or May the 12th, then I cannot change anything. I cannot plan for it, because I have those confirmations that I have to attend this session, which is happening in Canada online, and that is the 1 p.m. EST, which is exactly the time 10 p.m. for 90 minutes, and it should go a little longer. So I delayed this half an hour. So project charter sets this, that what is an expectation, and then you take an action. Noman, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Sir, for example, the team is working on the work to finalize from the what will be in the scope and what will not be in the scope. So where that work will be gone, either it will become in the project, because before initiating the charter or before the initiation process, the team is already working on that. So where we calculate those works.
Okay, so now once you are talking about the project charter, team is working on it. Think of a project charter after the contract document. So team has identified on a higher level that what is part of the project and what is not part of the project. It will go into the project charter. What is not part of the project is also part of the project charter. And obviously, you will go into the details in the planning phase. So after I hope this answers your question.
No, actually, let me rephrase it. For example, if RFP came, request for the proposal,
Yes.
and in the RFP there is a mention feature 1, 2, 3, and so on features business request. Okay, and we send this to our technical team to evaluate it whether these all changes or these all features we are able to do or not. So the team has been finalized it. After finalize these all requirement, then they have started to do the project. Once they give the sign off on the CSG document or on the proposal document, then the
Agreed.
team started work on the as a project. So
Agreed.
these effort, where we calculate these effort before the project.
These are the initiation effort. These are the bidding effort. These are the marketing proposal effort. This is something you will have an idea when we touch the procurement. That obviously once you are in this is a procurement process basically for that company. Okay, so this is a proposal process. So proposal process means you have to agree on the scope of work. You have to go into the bidding document. You have to submit the RFP and RFQ. Once you have the contract, then the project charter comes in.
Okay. Clear.
So all these things are pre-project activities for you, because you do not know whether the project will be assigned to you or not. But for that company who is doing this procurement, this is their project activities. Making sense?
Yes.
So keep these questions of yours till the chapter of procurement and take a note of it, and then we will try to touch it again on that question. So that how for you is out of the project, and how for the requesting organization, okay, and how for the requesting organization this is part of the project.
Okay.
So the signed project charter gives you a power to start the process. It is signed at a higher level by a project management committee, by the PMO, by the sponsor. You cannot sign your own authority letter. So consider this as an authority letter that yes, let's begin using the organization money, organization laptop, organization resources, organization equipment, organization people for the delivery of the objectives that we have committed in the project charter. It's a partnership between performing organization requesting. So we have a project charter, which is it is to launch the project officially and to enable the project manager to go about the business of getting the project work planned and then finished it. Now we have received the confirmation from the CEO that Mudassir, you are the project manager. Please begin. So I say, okay, what do I need to do? That's the project charter, a 30,000 level, feet high overview. Okay, this is what you have to do. Then I will now start using the start going down and down and down and zoom it and zoom it and zoom it, and then I will plan it, and then obviously I will execute it. Develop project charter has an input which we have seen as a business document, which is a broad business case that we are looking at. Here we are talking about expert judgment, data gathering, interpersonal team skills, and meetings. So these are the tools that we have. What is expert judgment? What is expert judgment?
Is a technical team of a specific project.
Expert judgment, you may say as the technical team, you may say as the consultant, you may say as the people who have done the job before, and you may even say the project management office is the expert of the processes. The quality manager is the expert of the. So when you are developing a project charter, Noman is a project manager. Okay, let me give you the example that I am currently working on the project. That project is a technical project, and in the last 20 years of my life, I have never worked on a technology project. Okay, most of the project management is for the applications like your software applications. Okay, that is my skill set. But currently I am working on a project which is a technique, which is based on technology. Now, once we are in the technology project management and they wanted me to initiate the project, I had no idea what the technology is, what is Exadata, what is Teradata, what is data warehousing, how to transfer the data, what are the challenges that we have in it. What did I do? I talked with the people who had done it before. I talked with the team that the client that my employer has gathered for this project. Although if you would have put me on ERP project, ideally, technically, I don't need to ask anybody. I can do it, but theoretically, I should be talking with the person who is doing a finance application, who is doing a procurement application, who is doing the CRM application. I should be asking them. So, but because I have the experience of 20 years in that field, I can do it. I can do it myself. The reason I'm giving you technology, I had no idea. They put me a project manager for this job. I said, okay, I will do it, but I cannot deliver the charter. I cannot deliver the schedule. I cannot deliver the technical documentation without having the expert judgments. So we have a person who is an expert in Teradata. I talked with him. I asked him that what is your job, what you are going to do, what you are going to finish, what is your success criteria, what do you need from me, and that is how I created the project charter. By talking with the experts, those who have done the job, the person who is in my team who is doing this transfer from Teradata, he has been working on Teradata for almost 15 years. The person who is actually working on Exadata, he's been working for 21 years. So these are the experts that I had who helped me created the charter, who still helps me covering my status meetings. Whenever I have to do a status reporting on every Sunday, I ask them what you have done, what are your challenges. Maybe if you are in the application area, I might not need to do it. I might even don't need to go into that much detail, but here I need to do it. So experts are the people who have better knowledge than you, who have done the job in that area before. They are the consultants. Data gathering, we will look into the next slides. And the output is a project charter, a document in which you are assigned, a document which formalize not legalize. There is a difference between the terminology legalize and formalize. Legalize means you can take it in the code of law. It formalizes the project for the organization, that now nobody can question it, that why we have taken that question. I mean, politically it is not happening. People keep on question the project initiation till it is delivered, and even after delivery they said you see it is not giving you the results. So that is there, but ideally once you have the project charter, it means the business case is done, it means the feasibility study is done, it means the top management has agreed that this project is required for the organization long-term success. So no question should be asked once the project charter is signed. So this is what the project charter is. And Sangeeta, I will go through the assumption log when I come to the assumption log slide. So input is a business document. We have talked about the business case and we have talked about the benefit management plan, technology advances, legalize, feasibility analysis, cost benefit analysis, business need. It's all part of the business case. And the most important part about the business benefit management plan is when you are going to deliver, how you are going to deliver, and whom you are going to deliver, and what benefits you are going to deliver. So this is important once you are talking about the develop business project charter as an input. Agreements. What are agreements that you need to make sure that you cover when you are doing the charter? So agreements are those documents these are contracts that your organization has with any other external customer. Okay, it is about the your initial intention that what you are going to deliver. So your project may refer these documents of agreements, that what MOUs you have, what service level agreements you have, your verbal agreements, email and other written agreements that your organization has, which is impacted on this project, maybe some third party agreement that you cannot use any other laptop, that all the company has to use the Dell laptop. We have an agreement that we have to abide by. So this is what is the admin. Then EF are obviously they are not initiated within the project. They are done they are outside your project. They have internal EEF, there are external EEF, then you have an organizational OPAs, which is historical information, process assets, project charter template, assumption log template, data gathering template that, okay, you have to send this to risk manager that we are starting this project. Please tell me what are the risks that are important. You can send this document, a template that can come as part of an OPA, which has the project objective at the top, and then you send it to the quality manager. Please tell me what quality requirements you have, what resources you require. So these are the organizational process actions that would help you in identifying the which would help you identifying the project charter, organization culture, infrastructure, employee capability, market conditions, legal restrictions, governments. So this is your OPAs and EEF that you are looking at. Expert judgment, we have already talked about it. So the next is interpersonal skills and the team skills. So brainstorming, focus groups, we will go into the details of it. Brainstorming is about getting the ideas. Brainstorming is about getting the solution options. Brainstorming is about the what kind of risk that we are looking at here. Brainstorming is about how we should, what should we do to deliver the project efficiently. So there we are discussing about the project charter on a very high level, what processes that we would be using, who are the best team members that we should be looking at, what are the known risks that we could have. Focus group is more conventional way of getting focus information about project risk, success criteria of the projects. And interviews, I know we all know the interviews, but I mean, interviews is the most reliable way of getting the information. But the challenge with interview is that it is directly proportional with your experience and your readiness about the interview. If you have actually worked out your questions, if you have actually worked out the background of the person, if you have worked out the your open-ended question. I mean, interviews should largely be open-ended question, and here theoretically you should not be giving your feedback during interview. You should be only asking you should be only asking the questions. You should be only looking for the more and more information when you are in the interview. Conflict management is something, obviously stakeholders are in conflict every time. What should be part of the project, what should not be part of the project, what is the success criteria, what is not the success criteria, what are the high level documentation. Facilitation is something we are right now doing, is ability to group to even to a successful decision. So right now we are having a facilitation. I'm helping you to go through the PM book. You can do it yourself, but we are contributing. Okay, and meeting is the best way of if you want to kill time and you are tired, meeting is the best way to kill the time. How many of you agree with this notion? No one? No one agrees with this notion that meetings are the best time to kill the best way to kill the time, non-productive way of killing the time? Oh, what happened?
Absolutely.
Oh, that was so. And so what do you do to minimize this non-productive time, Fez? It is still lagging, Sangeeta.
So, in my experience, sometimes there were so many meetings about a certain job, or certain project, or certain campaign, and they were like hours and hours of just what do you call it? Just talk and no business. So it's only useful in very limited scenarios. Most of the time, meetings are just to hear what is everyone doing, and it's really not a progressive use of the time.
Yeah, this is the challenge. I mean, this meeting management is very difficult. It can only be done if you have the agenda. If you're ensuring the stakeholders that are there are really represented, their presence is really required, and you are focusing them on the agenda that you coming back, because there is a tendency of every human that they want to play on their strengths, and once they are in the sessions, uh, a little bit of ego also comes in when somebody is talking about it and in your area or stuff like that. So these are some of the challenges that you face in during the meetings, and it is very important that you tell them and explain to these users or the attendees that what is the objective of the session and how we are going to what are we expecting as a success criteria, what is the ending note for this, and how we are going to follow up. Usually meetings are failures we are because we are not properly following up, we are not closing that okay, this is done, this is not done, this is done, and this is not done. So we move forward. Project charter is a document issued by the project initiator or the sponsor. Where is my half an hour break today? It's not half an hour yet. No, we still have what is this? 2:44. You want a break? Okay, let me finish this, then we will go into the break. Sorry, it's not stopped today. So project charter is a document issued by the project initiator, project sponsor, PMO, steering committee, somebody who is authorized at the top and sitting at the top of all the people, so that because they have to listen to me now for the future activities. So I should have the signed copy which everybody respects. It's an authority to apply organizational resources. The project charter should be authored and sponsored by the sponsoring entity. It requires the purpose, object, wherever possible. It is very important that we should be avoiding the qualitative terminologies, qualitative results, qualitative goalposts. It should be quantified. We should be looking at project objectives in the pure quantitative way. What is the success criteria? What are the boundaries? How can we do it? We need to increase our sales. This is not an objective. 5%, 100,000, 20 resources, 10 resources. What is our objective? It should be clear. Project manager should be assigned. You are assigned as part of this process. You are not assigned before. You are assigned as part of the developed project charter. Or what are the risks that we could have? Here we are talking about overall risk. There are two types of risk. One is called overall project risk and other is called individual project risk. So here we are talking about if the project is at risk. In the individual risk, we will talk about if the tasks are at risk. Okay. Functional organization and their participation, name and authority of the sponsor. Project manager might create it, but project sponsor is responsible and sign it. Please do not forget the link on the PM project management terms and concepts on the project charter. Very, very important. Okay. Assumptions are factors that are used in the planning process to allow plans to be created with reasonable details. I mean, assumptions are reasonably believed to be true based on experience. Sangeeta, does this answer you? What are assumptions?
Yes, it does.
So it is still a requirement. If you do not do the assumption, you have a risk on your project because you are assuming Mudassar will do it. I'm sure we all have heard this story. Somebody will do it. Nobody has done it. Anybody thought that somebody will do it? I do not remember the story, but this is the assumption. Everybody thought somebody will do it. Somebody who said no, anybody can do it. So these are assumptions. We are assuming that it is happening. That is why assumption log is very important. We are expecting, I can give you an example again from my project, that we assume that the connection between two computers will be 1 gigabyte, 1 gig structure, 1 gig. We found out at the end of the day, it is only 11 bytes. It's an assumption which at the later stage proved false, and we have a risk on the project. So if you cannot write assumptions as risk, it means you have not done your assumptions analysis properly. So assumptions should be documented in assumption log. They should be estimated. They should be planned, scheduled. Assumptions are considered risk because false assumptions can alter the entire project. Okay, so assumptions are very important for your project, specifically in terms of identification. So project charter is an input to all of these processes. Develop project management plan, close. So if you see 5.1, 6.1, 10.1, 8.1, 9.1, 10, 11, 12, 13, all planning documents require project charter as an input. Okay, all close and your identify stakeholder required as an input, because project charter tells you what is the end game, that is a closed project, and project charter tells you who are your main stakeholders. So this is where we take our 5 minutes break. Okay, we finish the first process, which is develop project charter. Develop project charter is one of the most important processes. It is where you actually are saying that, okay, let's begin. It is actually you are saying, let's do it. We can do it. This is all. This is why it is very important that you have the proper document ready for this, because this will work as your, coach, your guide throughout your other processes. Wherever you need a plan, if your goal post is not correct, the project charter is setting up the goal post. So if your goal post is not correct, you cannot plan the schedule, you cannot plan the cost, you cannot plan the quality. So we move forward. This is the project management plan. This is where you plan what have you committed. You have committed to play a football game. You have committed to win the game. You have committed to deliver your best. Now you are planning for it. What will be the team size? What will be how the team will play? What are our strategies? What are we going to do if we face this kind of a risk? What are we going to do if I need to do this job? What are we going to do? So here we will be answering in partnership the most importantly, we will be answering these what and why and how questions with the partnership of the project team, stakeholder and management. So it is not your alone responsibility that you got to do it. You will be delivering these project management plans in partnership of others. Project management plan will guide the project flow. It defines how the project management will happen. It will define the priorities, conditions influencing the process. And this is an iterative process. You know, and we have discussed that it has never happened. I'm sure you have never worked on a project which is actually on which you have a full idea of everything on day one. It is an iterative process. It is a process that you keep on getting more and more information, and you will be once you have the better information, you come back here, you update it. Once you get the more information, you come back here and you update it. Project charter, obviously, I need to know what is my goal post. What am I planning for? Is it a hockey game? Is it a football game? Is it a team which is very difficult? It is a pool game. It is a knockout game. Is it a final game? Everything is important. Is it a game where I have to win the game by 5 goals margin? Is it a game where I can lose the game? Is it a game where I can draw the game? Or everything is in charter. The charter says if you lose by 1 goal, you will become the third team in your pool, and you will not able to go to the knockout. If you draw, you will be the second team. If you win, you will be the first team. All these things are in the project charter. It's a very high level project information that you have. Output from other process, at this point, just keep it as an output from other process. These are all the project management plans which are output of, remember, 5.1, 6.1, 7.1, 8.1, 9.1, 10.1, 11.1, 12.2. This is all output for these processes and come in this as an integration. So the procurement manager will create his plan and will send it to you. Quality manager will make his plan and will send it to you. Cost control manager will plan his plan and will send it to you. The scheduler, the person who is actually making sure that everything is done on time based on the timeline, he will do his job. Where is Mr. Fazuddin? Okay. Can somebody check it, because I don't know where my mobile is. Okay, so coming back, so then we will data gather, we will do the communication, we will work with the team, we will work with the stakeholders and create a project management plan. So it's a responsibility of everyone on the job, on the project. Yours, project management team, stakeholders, project team, subject matter experts. Everybody will help you get this document. When you are talking about the data gathering, checklist, focus groups, interviews, and brainstorming, conflict management, meeting management, facilitation. I mean, these are the kind of same things that you will be looking at. Now look at the output. How many documents? 1, 2, 3, 4. We are talking about 16 different documents as part of the project management plan. So it is very important that the project management plan is a very, very localized to your project. So if you are an IT project, you might be not be doing a very big communication management plan. If you are in a pharma project, your communication management plan will be very, very detailed, because it's a 10 years of testing. It requires so many, it has to complete so many legal requirements. All these things are part of it. So this document can be 1-page document, or it can be a whole document of 300 pages. It completely depends on you, on how you are actually, you want to see it. So on page number, where is this PowerPoint slide?
A quick question. The outputs are 20, right? There's of this document, so it'll be in 20 places. Is that correct? Is that how you read like this?
No. Why are you thinking like this? This is an output of this develop project management plan. So this is one document which has all these documents as part of this.
Oh, okay. I understood it incorrectly. That makes sense. Yeah.
So the project management plan is the key document that contains overall planning, monitoring and implementing activities. You should plan before you act. The project management plan is the foundation and guidance of all the project. Please remember this statement. The project management plan is not for the client. Project management plan is for your team so that everybody behave properly. They know what templates we have to use. They know what are the variances that we are looking at. Again, take an example of the same project of 200 villas. We have 4 project managers, multiple cost control managers, multiple procurement people. So we have to make sure that it does not happen that when Mudassar is coming, he is saying, sir, I don't have anything to complain about. Whereas my variance of my 50 villas is 7%. Noman is coming. He said, sorry, we have a big problem, and he's making a lot of noises. Why? Because he thinks 3% is too much. Sangeeta is coming. Yeah, it's okay, fine, we will manage it. And this, and why? Because some of the risks which were not supposed to become reality, where probability was low, become reality. According to her, probability was low but become a reality. Those risks, and she did not mitigate it because she thought that it will never happen. Whereas Faz, if he has joined, he thought of those risks as high probability and he mitigated it. To avoid this individual perceptions, communications, experiences, we are creating a project management plan. So we all agree that we 4 project managers have 2% variation allowed in cost, 5% variation allowed in schedule, and 3% contingency reserves on the project. Okay, so this document is a very important. And then suddenly Faizuddin said, I am resigning. Now the new project manager comes in. What is he going to do? So this document will help him jumpstart. This will tell you the processes. This will tell you the governance structure. This will tell you the templates. This will help you what is the variances. This will help you what are your baseline. This will help you when you should get worried. This will help you when you should not get worried. This will help you what kind of tools you should be looking at. Everything is in this document. This document is for your team. This document is to help make sure that everybody within your team behave. They are following the same processes. They are following the same path. It is not that somebody is aggressive, he is following another path, and somebody is pessimistic, he is following another path. Somebody is overreacting, he is following different path. Your role is very important. Define the change management plan, how the changes will be handled, and then maybe you need to deliver this project management plan to key stakeholders to get the sign that this is how we are going to do this. This document does not contain execution plan. What is happening in execution. This is how we are going to do it. How we are going to deliver this big project. We all have 4 project managers. My sponsor is very worried. So we agreed, okay, sir, based on this project charter, we agreed that, okay, this should be 2% variation is okay. These are the templates we will be using, and we should only deliver the project status report after 15 days. But then we should get an approval if required from the sponsor, if required from the PMO, if required from the committee. That's it. This is how we are going to do it. Please bless us. So tomorrow, if something goes wrong, you have somebody to start. Then once you have the project management plan in place, then only you should conduct a kickoff meeting. Kickoff meeting is conducted, is planned after your project plan is finished and you are announcing a project to the whole team, that and share with them with the milestones, their relevant information, and begin the project. Project kickoff meeting does not mean a meeting that has happened just after the contract is signed. that is usually a terminology that we use. So the project management plan defines how the project will be executed, monitored and controlled and closed. So do not forget the governance structure, project team structure, how you are going to manage the issues. Issues will come on a daily basis. Issues are not related. It could be related to scope, but issues are on site. Issues are operational. You need to make sure that you have that understanding. Although it has many components, but it should be concise and clear document detailing the work to be involved and expectation of the project. The project management plan should be baseline. Once you all agree that this is what we are going to do, this is what we are going to deliver, you should finalize the project management plan, because if the plan is keep changing without your understanding that yesterday we planned that we will finish in 2 days, today we are planning in finishing in 3 days. So you should baseline it. Please, there is another very big, people usually make that mistake in terms of the terminology. Project management plan is not a schedule management plan. Microsoft Project, Primavera, Monday.com, and so many other softwares like this only give you the schedule management. They do not give you the project management plan. Project management plan from the book, you can see there are 18 sections into it. Scope, requirement, schedule, cost, quality, resource, communication till the development approach. There are 2 types of documents. One is project management plan that we create that requires an approval, that may require an approval. And on the other hand, there are the project documents that are being created on the project and keep on updating whenever it is required. Risk registers, risk reports, issue logs, change log, quality reports, quality metrics, schedule data, schedule forecast. These are the documents that are required on the project that keep updated during the project life cycle. So now, as of now, what we have done, we said we are going to play a football game on that day with this team on that time in this stadium. Fine, that is the project charter. We have planned that, okay, and we have planned that, okay, it will be 2, 3 and 4 combination. It will be, we will try to do with the small passes. We have to win with minimum one goal, and we will be largely using the right wing because the opponent's right wing defense is weaker. And if we go into the goal deficit, we try to delay the deficit. We'll try to hold the deficit till the last 15 minutes, and then we will put extra forward in the game, and then we'll try to make the goal. So all these we have planned it. Okay. All remember, I mean, I'm sure you all are watching the football and following up these basketball games. This is how the coach plans it. Okay, you will do this, we will do that, you will do this, we will do that. Once you have it, now coach become what is the how you express it? Now you are handcuffed. You are a coach, you are a handcuff, you are sitting on the ground. And I'm sure we all have seen many a times coach is shouting, do this, and nobody is listening in the ground. Why? Your job is finished. Technically, I mean, from the perspective of the game, your job is now finished. They have to deliver it. Based on your plan, they have to plan it. They have to do the job on the ground. So this process is part of execution process group. Here, your job is to synchronize all the execution processes, so that the people can execute the project management plan. They can meet the project requirement as they have promised while doing the project management plan. And if you remember, I told you project management plan is not your responsibility alone. Everybody is on it. So executing the project management plan activities to deliver the established objectives. Principal output here is deliverable. Most important input here is project management plan and approved change request. Change request has a life cycle. You provide the change request, you go, it gets into the impact analysis, it is approved or disapproved, we will all see. But in the direct and managed project work, it means execution is happening, only approved change requests are input. So planning is input and approved change requests are input. Outputs are two things. There are so many outputs, but please, now I'm trying to create a relationship for you. I'm trying to identify what are the inputs and outputs which you need to be memorized at minimum, but understand that what I would like to have. Output is your deliverable and work performance data and change request. Because execution is happening, so change requests will keep on coming. On day one, when you start the execution, only project management plan is an input. Then you execute, two things will happen. You started a job, I was supposed to do the whole wall painting in 5 days. On Thursday, you come in and ask, Mudassar, what have you done? I said, oh, I've only done 15%, 50% of the job. Now you need to initiate it. This is work performance data that you have collected. And the second thing that you have to do is to initiate a change request, because I am delayed. Now this change request will go into the change control board. So, and other thing, 50% is what? Is also deliverable. I gave you something that I have finished the 50%. So deliverable is there, work performance data is there, and the change request is there. Input is approved change request and the project management plan. So let's go and see for that. Yes, it is like this. So what you are looking at, activities to accomplish the project. What you are looking at, creating the project deliverables, staffing, training, managing the team members, obtaining the man, machine, material resources, equipments, implement the planned methods and standards, establish the communication, generate the project data, manage the changes will be flying into you like anything. You have to manage them, manage the risk, implement the risk responses, review the risk responses, manage the sellers and suppliers, collect the documents, lesson learn, and implement the approved process improvements. You are to make sure that deliverables are done. And if you remember, we have talked about the deliverable cycle. At this point, I, as Mudassar Iqbal, only came to you as Mr. Noman that, please, sir, I have done my job. You cannot deliver it to the client because you have to review it with your quality team. So once you have finished the direct and approved change request, we have talked. Change management, obviously, it's a process that you have to follow. We will integrated change control is the next slide that we will be looking at. And project management information, we have talked multiple times before. This is something scheduling tool, work authorization tool, configuration management tool, where you are keeping the versions, where you are keeping all the attached documents. So Basecamp is a very, very good configuration management tool that can be used. And we are using the Zendesk, another very important good configuration management tool. So all these things can be used on your project. Output is deliverable and change request. The most important output is deliverable, which will eventually be handed over to the client after multiple verification validation processes. Change is inevitable. You cannot escape the change. The good change is what follows the procedure. You as a PM will be bombarded with the change requests. You need to log them, process them, get their approvals. If these are approved, get into the timelines. See, approval means you have to deliver this change. Change, ideally it should give you extra schedule cost, but it might not, which is again a decision of the top management. So I have in my professional life signed many change requests which never has an impact on the cost. It's a zero cost change request, but we do it just to make sure that this change has happened. So life does not go as expected. Same in the case with the project. Unexpected things will happen. So once you have unexpected things happen, you will do three things. What are those? Corrective actions. What are corrective actions? What are corrective actions? What are preventive actions? Tell me first, what are preventive actions?
Preventive actions are like to resolve the issues permanently. Corrective actions are you are going to provide a workaround or to do something for the time being.
Anybody else? Numan is 20% correct.
So corrective actions are usually done after you have the problem, and then when you realize that and you sort of mitigate around that, identify the root cause, then you do a proactive analysis and do a preventative action. So next time you tackle that problem before it arises.
That took the definition to 98%. Fez, do you want to add another 2%?
Well, it's pretty much it. But since all these are under the umbrella of change request, so the corrective action would be obviously something that has gone wrong or something that is not perceived anymore to be able to deliver a certain deliverable. So then the change request is made to make sure that the alignment to the overall objective remains the same. So that action becomes corrective. Something, maybe a new risk arises, and that has to be accounted for in the overall project plan and strategy. So a preventive action is to be taken. And similarly, some defect repair is something, some process, some action that is creating a defect. So a change request is needed, maybe a tool, maybe. So all of this is under the change request. So accordingly, it will mean corrective or preventive or
done. So I have a question.
In case there's a fault.
Yes. So I'm sure you all have the cars with you. You all drive one. Numan, Sangeeta, and Fez.
Yes.
Why do you take that for the maintenance?
So you don't get issues.
You don't get issues.
Sorry,
And
I couldn't get the question.
You all have cars. I mean, the cars that you drive. Okay.
Yeah.
And you take them for their monthly maintenance or periodic maintenance. For what reason?
To avoid any problems.
To avoid any problems. So these are called preventive maintenance. These are preventive maintenance schedules that make sure that nothing goes wrong in the future. So prevention is something that is an intentional activity which ensures the future performance of the project is aligned. So car preventive maintenance is an example. Corrective actions, as Sangeeta has said, that intentional activity that realigns. So what is happening, take an example, is your project is okay with 5% variance of cost, fine? And it's a 2-year project. Once you finish your first month, you find that you have a variance of 0.5. You finish your third month, you see your variance is 1. You finish your 6th month, you see your variance is 2.2. Now, this trend is telling you what will happen. You are still in 5% mark. But this trend is telling you what? Anybody? Hello? Can you hear me? Yes, Sangeeta.
So the trend is going up, I believe.
Yes, trend is going up, but it is also telling you that maybe by the 12th month, you will touch the 5% mark. So do you really want to take a corrective action at that point? Once something has gone wrong? No, you are a project manager. You look for the trends. You look for the very strange. Okay. Let me. So actually what we are looking at is in the 6 month, our trend is only 2.2% and started from 0.5%. It is clear that by the 12th month, we will be hitting 5%. So it is better that we put some preventive action in plan, so that it does not go beyond these numbers. Corrective action, as Sangeeta has already explained, it happens when something has gone wrong. You want to correct it first. So you, unfortunately, your brake has failed, or your fluid has, car fluid has spilled over the road during your travel. Then you have corrective the action, and then you have preventive action in the future. That okay, this brakes has failed, so it means we need to get the brake maintenance, and the defect repair is a very big problem. The difference between corrective action and the defect repair is corrective action is something gone wrong. Defect repair is something gone wrong. Corrective action is you as a project team caught it. But here the client has caught this. It's a non-conformance of the product component. You have failed to do it. Your team has screwed up. Some member has not did this job. So it's a defect repair is means causing more, because defect happens when you have the whole document, whole process finished, your whole deliverable is ready. And note 7 is a defect repair. Okay. Defect repair is something which you have completed the project, completed the deliverable, and most importantly, client has find this situation. So preventive is to avoid the future problems. Corrective is something has gone wrong, you want to correct it. Defect is it is in the client's hand. So the next process is manage project knowledge. It'll take another 10 minutes. I was not planning to complete this integration in 2 hours. It's a big process chapter, so that is fine. So we'll take another 10 minutes and then we will close. So manage project knowledge is a new process that is added in this PM book 6, and its focuses is on that whatever you are doing right now, whatever corrective actions you have taken, whatever preventive actions you have taken, whatever risk mitigation plans you have implemented, however the suppliers reacted, whatever to your variances, what you have learned about the performance of the equipment, all these knowledge that you have, please write it somewhere to put it in the archiving of the project, so that this can be used in the future. Okay. Now, once you are talking about the managed project knowledge, there are 2 types of knowledge. One is explicit knowledge, your documentation, your conversation, your figures, your numbers, your presentations, your reports, your emails. But there is a tacit knowledge, something which is in the mind. I have given you an example before, and I am sure it is around you. People who are new to the job, their reactions to the challenges or the things coming up in the office, and the people who have done 10 and 15 years, their reactions are far different from each other. Why? Because you have gained some knowledge, you have gained some wisdom that this part will over. Do not worry, we don't need to react. I was working in an organization in previous organization where they have news coming like, I think I must say they are the company was basically running on the rumors. So initially, once you find somebody new, oh sir, it is going to happen. I said, no, don't worry, man. Nothing will going to happen. This is just rumors. So this is a tacit knowledge, something in your mind that is you have gained over the period of time. Your personal beliefs, values, knowledge, gain based on experience, know-how. And that is where your job is very important as a project manager. Your job is very important as a senior team leader, that you need to guide the younger team leader. You need to coach them. You need to tell them what you need to, how to react, how to perform. So once we are talking about the explicit knowledge, lesson learned is the most important example. You should be maintaining the lesson learned register. It should be mentioning something from the previous earlier references, and then what you have learned new. Today I will also send you some of the templates in the folder and chapter 6 and for chapter 5 and data gathering. So lesson learned is the explicit knowledge part of your project. It is easily codified, but often lack the deeper understanding like tacit knowledge provide. And this could be very helpful in terms of your risk mitigation procedures and action. It could be very good in terms of what you have learned about the suppliers and equipments. So managed project knowledge is about project management documentation, deliverables, what you have done, what is right, what is wrong, and project documents. Expert judgment, knowledge management, information management, and output is a lesson learned register, something that we have already talked in the previous slides. And if we move forward, there are two things. One is knowledge. People, blogs, social, Wikimedia, discussion board, project documents. There are so many different ways of getting the knowledge. It depends on the nature of the project, specifically degree of innovation that is involved, the degree of complexity that is involved, the level of diversity that we are looking at among the team members. That is all knowledge. Networking, including informal social interactions and online social interactions, online forums where people can ask questions are useful for starting knowledge sharing conversations with a specialist. That is why the communities are there. If you have any problem, you just go online and you ask for it. Quora, Reddit is the best way to get your answers. Communities of practice is sometimes called communities of interest, special interest group, meeting, virtual sessions, participants, work shadow, discussion forums, knowledge sharing events, seminars, conferences, workshops, storytelling, creative and ideas management technique, knowledge fairs and cafes, training. These all are part of the knowledge that you are actually gathering. This is all part of the information that you are gathering, and that should be captured, that should be preserved as part of the organization knowledge base. Knowledge management system is obviously this is, I think, very logical for you, but let me just go through it. First you collect the knowledge, which can be from any of this or any other. Then you may use it. Then you will, once you use it, you will make it better. because we have learned something from online, and I am sure whatever you are learning here, you will do the better job than me. That is what I told you. I believe in it. You should be better than me. Then you have enriched it. Then you will share it. Then you will store it. And then obviously, the very important item is that you keep on building on it. Don't get another time next thing and then start working on from the scratch. No, build, sustain, divest. This is very important. Build the knowledge, sustain it, add the gaps that you have find out in the future study, add what is diversify it, add more value to your knowledge that you have gained. So this is what the knowledge management system plays a vital role in the project management knowledge. And that is why if you see the PMI website, if you see, they have the papers and papers and papers. Oh, this reminds me, have you all bought this free course, free question answers?
Yes.
Yes, Sangeeta, I cannot hear you.
Yes, I did.
Numan and Faizuddin, please do not forget, buy it. Come again?
You're referring to the question answer document on the box?
Yes, 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 in the WhatsApp.
I wasn't looking at the phone.
I forwarded one free question answer session book from the PMI. Please buy it. It's a zero cost.
Oh yeah, that I got.
Okay, good. So interpersonal skills is active listening. This is one of the very important part. Most of us do not listen to understand. Most of us listen to answer. Most of us listen to contradict. Most of us listen to prove our points. We do not listen to understand. We do not listen to provide a constructive feedback. So this is one of the most important item on the paper sheet or on the term sheet for the project manager. Active listening. And that is why I ask that is why I try to stay with video on, and I requested everyone to stay on it so that we can interact. I can see the faces, what is happening on the faces. If something I'm telling you is flying past high or it is making sense. Facilitation, leaderships, networking, political awareness, communication. Communication, a very big part of communication is active listening. So this is another important area. Political awareness, we have talked about it. We need to be we need to be aware of the politics that is happening within an organization. It is not for the reason that we have to play the politics. It is to a reason that we have to avoid getting stuck in unnecessary argument and unnecessary political rivalries. And that happens. So we are not working in an environments where these things are not very common. This is true for every region, whether you are here, whether you are in West, whether you are in third world country, whether you are in Middle East, wherever, this is common in every organization. And this political, this comes from the human nature. Everybody wants to avoid the failure. Everybody wants to save the jobs. So this political behavior is inbuilt as part of the human nature. So again, you are not there as their consultative coaches to change their behavior. Learn it so that you can prevent the project failure. So this is where we conclude our today's session. And thank you for your time.